Personal community focus. Let's get you started with Bill Pay. You save time when you pay your bills online. It's fast, easy, and convenient. First Bank of Sea Isle City, a community bank that delivers more for you every day. Personal service, today's technology, from the people who truly care. Learn more at firstbankseaisle.com.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig.
It's good!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort studio, here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here, 97.3 ESPN. We are a couple days away from the Eagles taking on the Packers. The rematch in the postseason this Sunday. We'll get into all the NFL conversation this hour. You guys can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. And as always, we are live on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. You know, looking ahead to this game on Sunday, the closer it gets, the more convinced I am that the Eagles are going to win this game. And that belief has only been reaffirmed by two observations I've had over the last, I want to say, couple of days. Number one is what's going on in Green Bay. And two is how Packer fans are acting. I'll dig deeper into that in just a moment. Joining us in less than 20 minutes from now, NFL film analyst for The Athletic, Ted Nguyen. He will join us coming up to talk more about the Eagles-Packers matchup in NFL Wildcard Weekend. And I will check in your text messages throughout the hour. At 609-403-0973. At the top of the hour, we will get you to coverage of Penn State versus Notre Dame. You hear the full game right here on 97.3 ESPN FM and all of it on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. If you are looking for the Flyers game tonight, you can jump over to our sister station, Rock 104.1, and the Rock 104.1 mobile app. All right. So we took care of all the crossing the T's, dotting the I's, etc. I'm not the kind of person who tries to overreact to anything, okay? And so I was trying to take what I saw on Sunday with a grain of salt, which is Jordan Love getting injured. And Jordan Love, for lack of a better term, basically looking like that he was not in great shape coming out of that game. Remember, he has been injured multiple times this year. Now, you got to think about it. This past Sunday, he injured his elbow in the game that he shouldn't even been playing in, honestly. He didn't have to play in that game, but he did. Jordan Love, he has been injured though multiple times this year. You know, you may not remember because it was so long ago, but he injured his left knee at the end of the Eagles-Packers game, and they needed Malik Willis to come in for him for a couple of weeks. So Jordan Love has already been banged up this year, and I've heard a lot of, and I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone, but I've heard a lot of experts say, it's not a big deal. Why are you talking so much about it? And then Jordan Love said this. And if I'm being honest with you guys, I'm not going to get this dialogue that he had with the reporters covering the Packers out of my head. This is what Jordan Love said to the media, what he was asked and what he admitted to the media. And if you're a Packers fan, if you're someone who likes to bet against the Eagles or whatever, this answer has to be concerning to you.
Do you have feeling back fully or
Yes.
close?
Yes.
So, Jordan, why did they limit you?
Just based on my hand, getting back to it.
So if the feeling's back, does it still hurt in any way, or how is it affecting you at practice?
Yeah, it's more my elbow. Just covering that.
Soreness.
Yes.
Some very revealing stuff. Now, if that was the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback, he would have never been allowed to say any of that. So read into that what you will. But I got to tell you guys. First of all, he says they took me out in precautionary because I had trouble with feeling in my hand. Remember, he hit his elbow like around the funny bone, elbow joint area. And they said, oh, can you feel again? Yeah, I can feel again. So why are they limiting you? Oh, there's the elbow, still not great. He admits that it's still sore. This dude, between the knee and the elbow, he is not anywhere near 100%. Which probably explains a lot for why in the last 5 games, the Packers are averaging below their season average for total yards per game. There obviously is there's something wrong with the quarterback. There's something wrong with the quarterback. There's something wrong with the team. They were 2-3 in their last 5 games. And realistically, the only teams they beat were non-playoff teams at the end of the season. Very different than last year, when last season they won 6 of their last 8 games, 3 straight going into the postseason before they upset the Cowboys in Dallas. This is not the same Packers team than last year, and I will not accept the theory. I know Mike Gill and I have debated about this here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Thursday night. I will not accept the answer that, well, we've seen the Packers do this before. This is not the same Packers team. The Green Bay Packers is an explosive offense that depends on big plays. Well, they are not going to have big plays. The Packers are a team with Christian Watson that is averaging 9.1 yards per attempt with him on the field. 31 completions of over 20 yards. It's a pretty good deal. But no Christian Watson. They only have 17 completions of 20 or more yards. And they're averaging 7.8 yards per attempt. Well, if you break that out, the 7.8 yards versus what they would complete with him on the field, which is the 9.1, is about what we're seeing in these games when they are averaging 30 less total yards a game. This is a team that is averaging fewer points per game versus playoff teams than versus non-playoff teams. It's very obvious to me that this Packers team only has one way to win the game on Sunday when they come to Lincoln Financial Field to play the Philadelphia Eagles, which you can hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 3 p.m. Then Mel Reese, Mike Quick calling all the action starting around 4:15. Play keep away. The Packers do have a very good running back. Not Saquon Barkley good, but Josh Jacobs had a very, very good year. He is a stud. The Packers' hope is to play keep away. Ask Jordan Love to do as little as humanly needed to win the game. That's the first reason why I have concerns with the Packers in this game. The other concern I have is how Packer fans are acting. I have seen people texting in the text board at 609-403-0973. I've seen people on social media. I have seen a lot of delusional people when it comes to this team. These people are completely ignoring the facts. And whenever you have a fan base that is not realistic, when you have a fan base that is ignoring facts, they're disputing literal numbers. Those aren't real stats. you don't watch the game. I love that accusation that people give out, that you don't watch the game, right? Well, what they don't understand is the louder they get, the more convinced I am that the Packers are going to lose. Because a fan that is realistic, like Eagle fans, I have seen only 2 reasons why the Eagles don't win the game on Sunday. One being that Jake Elliott misses some kicks and it dooms them. Or 2, the Eagles offense gets out to such a slow start that they're never able to catch up and they end up losing the game. That's pretty realistic because, well, Jake Elliott is having the worst year of his career. We need him to step up in the postseason. We need him to clear his mind, go do some yoga, go do whatever he's got to do to purge his mind of the mistakes he has made this year. And number 2, we know that the Philadelphia Eagles have had tons of slow starts. They are the team that was the last team in the NFL to score a touchdown in the first quarter of a game this year. They have scored the fewest points in the first quarter in the NFL of any playoff team. They have the fewest total yards of any NFL playoff team in the first quarter. They have the best second half points for versus points against ratio. They are a slow starting team. And unless we see some magic this Sunday from Jalen Hurts, Kellen Moore in this offense, I doubt they're going to get out to a strong start again this Sunday. So the only way that the Eagles don't win this game is if they lose it themselves. And I think that is the big deal, because if Jordan Love says his elbow still hurts, and Packer fans are delusional about all the injuries they're dealing with. I mean, I've literally seen people try to tell people that stats are not real. They are literally 2-5 against teams who are in the postseason. How is that not real? And then again, the loss of Christian Watson is a huge, huge deal. So, to me, I think that as soon as the Eagles finish business on Sunday, their attention will turn to Sunday Night Football. And that Sunday Night Football game will determine what happens. And like Jeff from Ocean City chimes in at 609-403-0973, says, Josh, they cannot get into a 14-0 hole. That is the thing that worries me the most. And you're right. It's the idea that this team cannot get down to the Packers, because the Packers do have a good enough run game to play keep away. You got to find a way to keep the Packers off the scoreboard until you get on the scoreboard. And the only saving grace is the Eagles are the number 1 defense in numerous categories. Total yards. They're second in points allowed this year. They're number 1 in passing yards allowed, the fewest passing yards allowed. They have the second best third down conversion rate, the 5th best red zone stoppage rate. So they are a very good defense. And we'll dig deeper into how the Eagles match up with the Packers this Sunday with Ted Nguyen from The Athletic coming up next with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 mobile app. Listen as Tim Saunders and Todd Fedork bring you all the exciting play-by-play action.
They score! Connecting on the one-timer, and TK makes no mistake, the power play goal.
It's Flyers Stars. Tonight, coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on South Jersey's classic rock station, Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 mobile app.
The 2025 Hercules Tires MAC Basketball Championships are returning to Atlantic City's iconic Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall for the 6th consecutive year, March 11th through the 15th, featuring 22 men's and women's teams. Visit MacSports.com/basketball for more information.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Shop now at the Home Depot and get up to 35% off select appliances. Plus, save up to an extra $400 on select appliances like Frigidaire. From the stainless steel French door refrigerator with crisp steel drawers to keep produce fresh longer, to the 5-burner electric range that lets you cook more at once and get meals on the table faster. Right now, get up to 35% off select appliances like Frigidaire. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing valid January 9th through January 29th. U.S. only. See store online for details and minimum purchase required.
Hear that? It's the gentle sound of a waterfall on your hike. And if you were here, you'd take a deep breath of fresh air, if you weren't so winded. But you're not here, because your self-care happens out on the road, riding your motorcycle protected by Progressive. And the bugs you wipe from your headlights are all the nature you need. So if you ride, see if you could save with Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Get an online quote in as little as 3 minutes, all from the great indoors. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. NHL, the Flyers back on the ice tonight as they host the Dallas Stars, who are riding a 5-game win streak, while Philadelphia has dropped 3 straight. They fell to the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-2 on Tuesday night. NBA, the Sixers Wednesday defeated Washington 109-103. Tyrese Maxey led Philadelphia with 29 points as they played without Joel Embiid and Paul George. Friday night, they'll host the New Orleans Pelicans. The Eagles are hosting Green Bay Sunday in the opening round of the NFL playoffs. Jalen Hurts returned to practice this week from the concussion protocol. Green Bay quarterback Jordan Love dealing with an elbow injury, and they did lose wide receiver Christian Watson to a torn ACL. And in college football, Penn State and Notre Dame will meet in Miami for the Orange Bowl, one of the semifinals of the college football playoff. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Tomorrow's forecast not bad as the Arctic wind and chill relax a bit. We do have some light snow coming in about 36 hours from now to start the weekend. Clear skies with a biting breeze tonight, low 23. That wind chill closer to 10. Not as windy, not as cold tomorrow. Increasing clouds, high 37. Light snow Saturday morning, up to an inch of accumulation, then clearing skies, high around 36. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
If you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released. Matt Blatt Nissan.com. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike.
Egg Harbor Township. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 mobile app. Listen as Tim Saunders and Todd Fedork bring you all the exciting play-by-play action.
They score! Konechny on the one-timer, and TK makes no mistake, the power play goal.
It's Flyers Stars. Tonight, coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on South Jersey's classic rock station, Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 mobile app. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
With an injured quarterback and no Christian Watson, I think this team is weakened to a point where with the Eagles' flexibility defensively and their talent in the secondary, Christian Watson, I don't know that healthy Christian Watson would be enough to distort this Eagles defense, but there is nobody in the receiving core that's going to cause this Eagle defense any bit of concern going into this game. So they have the flexibility to approach this game any way they want.
That was Dominique Foxworth on the Dominique Foxworth Show podcast. Josh Hennig back here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get back to your text in just a moment at 609-403-0973. I specifically mentioned earlier how when the Eagles are done winning on Sunday, their attention is going to immediately turn to Sunday Night Football, because whatever happens on Sunday Night Football is going to determine their next opponent, because it literally is a win and scenario. For those who haven't paid close attention to it, the Buccaneers are the 3 seed, and they're taking on the number 6 seed, Washington Commanders. You are facing the Packers because the Packers lost on the final day of the year, and Washington found a way to win a game with Marcus Mariota. You can thank Marcus Mariota for why the Eagles are playing the Packers. And so what's going on is that whoever wins on Sunday Night Football is going to determine, if the Eagles win on Sunday, who exactly Philadelphia faces. And I think that is a big part of this conversation moving forward, because we can look at the Eagles-Packers game and say, let's, for assumption's sake, the Eagles are going to win. But then you can turn around and say, well, who are you going to play? And I've said it 100 times, Tampa is the one team I don't think anyone in this postseason wants to face. So this might sound crazy, but if you're an Eagles or a Lions fan, you probably should be rooting for Washington on Sunday Night Football. To get deeper into the matchups right now, Ted Nguyen, he, of course, covers the NFL for The Athletic. He is their film analyst covering the NFL, and he joins me right now here on 97.3 ESPN. Ted, welcome in. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. So here's where I want to start. For you, knowing that Christian Watson is not going to be in this game for the Packers, in your eyes, how does that impact this game this Sunday?
I think it's a huge deal, because coming into the season, we thought the Packers receivers would be a little better than they were. We thought they would have 1 or 2 legitimate breakouts, and that just hasn't happened. But Christian Watson, when healthy, he was their big play answer against man coverage teams. And they just don't have that big play answer now. So when you look at the Packers offense, Quinyon Mitchell has developed into a corner where you could trust him on an island on his own. So you could put him on an island with Wicks, or you could put him on an island with Romeo Doubs, and you could divert coverage to Jaden Reed, who had a really good game against the Eagles in week 1, or you could divert coverage away from Quinyon Mitchell, and just makes everybody's job that much easier. So Christian Watson missing this game, it just makes the Eagles defense's life a little bit easier and takes away that big play explosiveness from the Packers offense.
You mentioned Reed with the 70-yard touchdown in the first game in Brazil. That was Avonte Maddox, who was getting shredded by the Packers in that first game. Well, now it's Cooper DeJean in the slot. So we know the Eagles, a big part of the reason why the defense got improved and the defense and the team on a 10-game winning streak was DeJean's play. What do you think DeJean's impact is going to be in the game on Sunday?
Yeah, I think DeJean offers so much more than just coverage ability, and coverage ability wise, like you mentioned, he's been great. Like he just is so fundamentally sound. He's so sticky in coverage, but he's also good in run support. You could blitz him. That versatility is a big reason why this Vic Fangio defense has taken off. So he is just, there's so much disguise, and he makes it so much harder to get a beat on what the defense is doing.
You mentioned Vic Fangio. Talk to the audience what you've seen from him, because this was an Eagles team that's one of the worst defenses in all of football last year, and they have literally pretty much gone from worst to first. So how does that happen with a coordinator? It's not like they changed the whole defense personnel-wise. They changed the whole coaching staff, but they didn't change the whole defense personnel-wise. How does this happen?
Yeah, I mean, personnel-wise, they did get better in the secondary because they were really bad at cornerback last year. And like you mentioned, to get DeJean now, Quinyon Mitchell, possibly defensive rookie of the year conversation type of player. But yeah, I think Vic Fangio, he is the originator of the scheme that everybody's trying to run in the league, this too high scheme, fit the run with the light box and take away explosive passes. But he's also extremely good at game planning week to week. Every week, it seems like he comes up with a great game plan that really forces offenses to try to play with their offhand, and it's been hard to do. And I think it took a little bit of time for the defense to really pick up the system, but now that they have it down, they're playing fast. They can mix and match and do all sorts of things defensively from game to game. So they're playing one of the best. They're playing like one of the best defenses in the league right now. And Jalen Carter is legitimately a beast. Like he's playing amazing football right now.
We're talking with Ted Nguyen. He covers the NFL for The Athletic. Follow him on Twitter X at FB_film analysis. Check out all of his coverage of the NFL over at The Athletic. When you talk about, let's go to the Packers here, right? It has to be Fangio is going to be facing his offense. This offense in the last 5 games, they are averaging fewer total yards per game than their season average. The last 5 games, they're averaging 340, or on the season, they're averaging 370. This is a Packers defense that looks like they're limping into the postseason. So what is going downhill for the Packers?
I think, obviously, injuries are a big deal. And for the defense, missing Jair Alexander, when he's healthy and his mind is right, he could be one of the top corners in the league. And anytime you're missing a player of that caliber, it's going to hurt. And I think the linebacker core is a little bit injured too. I think they're getting Quay Walker back for this game.
Yep.
But I think this defensive roster was never really a deep roster in the first place. I think Jeff Hafley has done a pretty good job of kind of solidifying things and just getting them on the right track. But talent-wise, there aren't just a lot of blue chip guys on the roster. And in that first game, they had Jair Alexander do a pretty good job of covering AJ Brown for the most part. And now they don't have him. So they're going to have to divert more attention towards AJ Brown, which is why I think Devontae Smith is going to be a huge factor in this game.
You mentioned about the Eagles offense. Let's touch on that really quick, because I had made the comment earlier this week that when we were having the back and forth about, who is the Eagles MVP, right? I kept going to the offensive line, because to me, the Eagles offensive line came in with a lot of questions, man. I mean, replacing Jason Kelce, why are we moving Mekhi Becton to right guard? All these, Lane Dickerson, that guy always seems to get nicked and banged up. And they have turned into one of the best offensive lines for a unit that I think didn't have a ton of expectations. So what is your perspective on how that offensive line's production has impacted the Eagles offense?
One, I think Jeff Stoutland is one of the best assistant coaches in the entire league. What he's done with that offensive line, and like you mentioned, moving Becton to guard, and Becton looks awesome at guard. I love watching him every week because he's just pulverizing guys. Jurgens has been a good replacement for Kelce, even though it's hard to get to that level because he's a Hall of Fame center. But this line has played well. I mean, some of these holes that you're seeing get opened up for Saquon Barkley are huge. I mean, he's getting 5 yards down the field without anybody touching him. And when you have a running back that's as talented as Barkley and you give him those type of holes, you're going to get a 2,000-yard back. And, he might have been able to break the record if he got that 18th game in. And they've really went away. They obviously Jalen Hurts being part of the run game is still part of his offense, but they're not reliant on that anymore. They're more under center, hand the ball off to Barkley and just let him get ahead of steam into the line of scrimmage. And then that's forcing defenses to play more single high than they did last year, because last year part of the problem was defenses started playing a little bit more too high, and it was hard for Jalen Hurts to read things out and throw deep. But now teams have to put that safety in the box now. And then you're seeing A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith get those one-on-one opportunities outside again.
I mentioned before you came on, obviously, if the Eagles win on Sunday, all eyes turn to Sunday football, because that game will determine who the Eagles do or not face in the next round. Washington, they are a team that I think is dangerous, but I think Tampa is also dangerous too. I could make the argument, Ted, that whoever wins that game between the Bucs and the Commanders is going to be the team that nobody wants to face in the next round.
I agree. I think the Eagles play the Commanders a little bit better. They dominated them that first game, and that second game before Jalen Hurts was hurt, they had them under control, I thought. So I think if I were the Eagles, I would much rather see the Commanders than the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are just a dangerous team. You know, their offense could score with anybody. Obviously, they have some struggles defensively, but they take chances defensively. And we know Jalen Hurts could be on and off against the blitz, and they blitz a ton.
Do people not give Baker Mayfield enough credit? I feel like this guy, ever since he got to Tampa and revived his career, he has evolved into the quarterback people hoped he would be in Cleveland, being that first overall pick. I think what he did, to me, the most impressive, I don't know for you, Ted, but you tell me, the most impressive game for him this year was the Kansas City loss, because he went into Kansas City and almost beat the Chiefs with no Godwin and no Evans.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think he'll ever live up to being the number one overall pick, and I think that's how people judge him sometimes, and which is fair and unfair at the same time. But he's evolved into a very good quarterback, and with the right system around him, he could look like a top 10 quarterback, which is what he's playing in now. Tampa Bay has an awesome run game. They have Mike Evans. Liam Cohen, to me, is one of the hot names for head coaching candidate this season because of what he's done. So I just think Baker Mayfield is, he's kind of that borderline top 10 quarterback, and people have to give him credit for that. I mean, and when you watch him week after week, he just fights so hard. Like, quarterbacks don't typically win with grit. It's not something you associate with quarterback play, but man, he just wills his team into winning these games and just making some, like that little pitch to Bucky Irvin for the touchdown last week. That's just such on brand Baker Mayfield type of play. He's a very unique player, and it's fun to watch him get his shine in Tampa Bay.
Speaking of grit, and I don't mean to make fun of the tragedy that's going on in California right now with the fires, but I feel like if any quarterback and team is able to handle a bad situation right now, it's the Rams, with a veteran quarterback who I believe the stat I saw, he has the most fourth quarter comebacks of any active quarterback in the league right now. I just feel like Stafford and versus the Vikings defense, if there was going to be a quarterback and a team to handle a bad situation, potentially moving the game out of LA to another city, I feel like it would be the Rams.
No, I agree. And I think it's more than Matthew Stafford. I think it's Sean McVay. And though it sounds so cliche, it's just the culture that he's built in Los Angeles where this team can handle adversity. I think he does a lot of work with mental toughness. And that's when, in situations like this where things are unexpected, that's where you see that come out. I mean, I remember, when I was covering the Raiders, they came out with Baker Mayfield, who practiced for 3 days in that offense, and they ended up beating the Raiders. It's just a memorable game in my mind. But it's just, that's the type of culture that Sean McVay has built. These guys are going to be able to handle it, and just the way that McVay motivates and talks to his teams and builds a narrative for this team, I think they're going to be able to handle that type of adversity.
Saturday is the Harbaughs, right? It's Jim Harbaugh and his Chargers at Houston. It's John Harbaugh and his Ravens hosting the Steelers. How likely do you think it is that both Harbaughs win on Saturday? And if one of them was going to lose, who would it be?
I think both Harbaughs make it out. I think I think the blueprint is out on Russell Wilson and the Ravens. We know their offense is flying, but their defense has really transformed into one of the top units. They went from one of the worst units in the league early in the season, and then when you look at their splits in the second half of the season, they're one of the best units in the league. So when you combine that with what they're doing offensively, which is one of the most efficient, explosive offenses that we've seen in a long time, it's just hard for me to see Russell Wilson and the Steelers beating them, even though traditionally they've had some hard battles between those teams. I just think it's way too much to overcome for Russell Wilson.
I would be remiss before I let you go if I didn't ask you about the Raiders, because I know you're also a part of the Just Win podcast. And you, as you said, you covered the Raiders for a while. What on God's green earth is going on with that team? I mean, Antonio Pierce says, I'm good. They fire him the next day. They say they're keeping Tom Telesco. They fire him the next day. I mean, there's all kinds of rumors about, is Brady going to leave the broadcast booth after 1 year to run the Raiders instead of Mark Davis? What is going on, man?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a Tom Brady influence right now. I do really believe that if it wasn't for Brady, Mark Davis would have likely kept Antonio Pierce. But I think with Brady coming in, he wants to get his guys in the building. I think there was a thought that Telesco would have been safe, but ultimately the conversation moved towards we should have a blank canvas for whoever the head coach is going to be, because those top head coach candidates aren't going to want to work for a GM that they're not familiar with. So when you open up the lane for a head coach GM combo to come in, you give yourself a better chance with guys like Ben Johnson. And I was actually very surprised that Ben Johnson even took the interview for the Raiders, because he said he's going to be very intentional about the interviews that he's going to take. And if he takes an interview, he's going to be very serious about that team. So for him to accept that interview, I think is a big deal. I think the moves today are to partially to kind of show that, hey, if you want to bring in a GM, we have that opening too. And it's not just him. They're going to interview other top candidates that might want to bring in a GM as well. So I think they're just clearing house. And yeah, it looks like typical Raiders dysfunction, but I could kind of see the vision of what they're trying to accomplish.
I mean, I really thought Telesco's keep his job, because, this was an organization that everyone was demanding he'd take a tackle in the first round. He took Bowers. People were roasting him for it, and he got the tackle. What was it, the third round? They drafted Glaze. So, it's like, I thought Telesco was fine. I didn't think he was the problem, but, what, did Tom Brady sit him down and he told him he didn't like avocado ice cream? What could have been said in that conversation?
No, I definitely don't think it was a Telesco problem. I think Telesco did a really good job this year. They had one of the best drafts they had in the last 10 years. The Gardner Minshew thing was definitely one of the worst decisions of the seasons and led to a lot of losses. But Tom Telesco is not the problem. I don't think this firing was is on Tom Telesco. I think it's more of, we just want to clear the way so that if one of these top head coach candidates want to come with a GM that they know, we could do that for them.
Yeah, it's just so weird. Like you said, for us in Eagle land here, we're in South Jersey, and it's like, for Eagle fans, all we know is stability for the most part, and it's like, you look at a team like the Raiders, or you look at the dysfunction with the Cowboys, for example, and you're just like, well, thank God it's not us, kind of thing.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think the Eagles is a model, one of the model franchises, and I think building through the offensive line and the trenches is what the Raiders need to focus on, instead of these flashy moves. And hopefully they could finally find a GM head coach combo that could be here for the long haul.
I would only hope so, just because of the fact that the Raiders are one of the classic franchises of the league, and it's like, you look at the Jets and you're like, all right, whatever, they're the Jets. You know what I mean? The Jets won one championship before any of us were born, basically. Whereas, I'm old enough to remember the Raiders being good. You know what I mean? Like, I can remember, when Bo Allen and Marcus Allen were running in that backfield. I remember, I was very young, obviously, but I remember Howie Long, playing on those defenses. I remember them going to the Super Bowl with Gruden, and not with Gruden, but against Gruden. And it's just like, now you see what they've devolved into, firing coach after coach after coach. And it just is like, it makes no sense to me, man.
Yeah, it's definitely been a rough run, man. I think Mark Davis loved John Gruden. He still loves John Gruden to this day. Obviously, he had to make that firing because of all the of what happened. But I think he thought that was going to be the move for him to set him up for the next 10 years. And then after that, it was just, failed move after failed move. I think firing Antonio Pierce was the right decision here, just because I just don't know where his ceiling is as a head coach. And he just continually just kept on making game management mistakes. So I don't think he was ready to be a head coach. But yeah, I think Telesco kind of got caught up in the whirlwind. But if they could land Ben Johnson, who has been one of the hottest coaching candidates in the last 2-3 cycles, it'd be worth it. And I think that would be a definite step in the right direction. It's still a bit of a long shot, but I think they're giving themselves at least a chance here.
Well, I'll just give you a little tidbit, and you can steal this for your podcast. Remember, in Philadelphia, the hot coaches in 2016 were Adam Gase and Ben McAdoo. They both didn't want to come to Philadelphia. Tom Coughlin said no to Philadelphia, and the Eagles had to settle for their fourth choice, which was Doug Peterson. So sometimes the hot name isn't always the guy that actually wins anything. So you might want to remind Raider fans of that, man.
Yeah. It's also a reminder that we have no idea how these head coaches work out, too.
That's true, too.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wild. Ted, I appreciate you jumping on at FB_film analyst on Twitter X for all of his breakdowns. Check out all of his work in The Athletic. And as I mentioned, the Just Win podcast is a podcast that he does with Vic Tafur covering the Raiders. Ted, appreciate the time. Take care.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Josh Hennig here live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN. Charles, I see your message coming in on the YouTube. I'm going to get to you on the other side, plus more texts. 609-403-0973. Eagles injury report had one player of significance on it. It was not Jalen Hurts. Should we, though, be concerned? We'll get into that next on 97.3 ESPN.
The College Football Playoff Semifinals on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. Texas, Ohio State at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Penn State, Notre Dame at the Capital One Orange Bowl. Touchdown! The magic continues. Wow! The semifinals of the College Football Playoff. Coverage begins tonight and tomorrow at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
It's College Bowl season on 97.3 ESPN, your home for the College Football National Championship game.
The best call to make on game day is ordering catering from the Piccalilli Inn. For parties big or small, the Pick does it all. Your guests will be cheering for the Pick spin on football favorites like pulled pork nachos, cheesesteaks, burgers, and their award-winning buffalo wings, tails, and ears. Get your chicken wing fix on Route 206 at the Piccalilli Inn. Join the flock and follow the Pick on Facebook or at Piccalilli.com for their Pick game specials. And be sure to pre-order to guarantee your spot in Sunday's lineup.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time on a fancy water bottle with ultra titanium alloy metal. You're not sure why you need all that. I mean, it just holds water. But you're getting it anyway. Because if you're hiking near an active volcano and you accidentally drop the bottle into molten lava, your water will still be icy cold. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time for water bottles. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
Over 40 years ago, John Jenkins Sr. invented the heated bench for football players. Today, Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning brings that same innovation and reliability to your home or business. Need plumbing repairs or a new gas furnace, boiler, or water heater? Ask about utility loans up to $25,000 at 0% for 7 years and rebates up to $29.50. Call 609-641-6440. Or visit jenkinsandsons.com.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it! Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Something good to know from First Bank of Sea Isle City. We have all of today's innovative banking products just like the big banks, but we offer something they can't. A personal community focus. Let's get you started with Bill Pay. You save time when you pay your bills online. It's fast, easy, and convenient. First Bank of Sea Isle City. A community bank that delivers more for you every day. Personal service, today's technology, from the people who truly care. Learn more at firstbankseaisle.com.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
The Eagles are headed to the playoffs. Congratulations to the entire Eagles organization. It's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. We're proud to be the official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles. Come join us for all the Eagles playoff action and the best in-game experience anywhere. Ice cold draft beer, all of your Chicky and Pete's favorites, and of course, world famous crab fries. Perfect for Eagles playoffs. Go where the players go. The official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, Chickies and Pete's. Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Wrap up your workday with the all-new Chickies and Pete's Happy Hour with unbeatable specials weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Enjoy half-price orders of Chickies medium tender wings, one of our tasty and delicious pizzas, or an order of mouth-watering hot, cold, or fried shrimp. Plus $3 domestic bottled beers, $5 Tito's, and $6 seltzers. It's the all-new Happy Hour, weekdays 4 to 6 p.m., only at Chickies and Pete's.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Don't forget Notre Dame versus Penn State tonight on 97.3 ESPN. I'll get you some thoughts on that. I know Jeff from Ocean City wants to know what I think at 609-403-0973. But as promised, I am going to first get to the comment that Charles dropped in on the YouTube channel. He says, do we know exactly what's wrong with A.J. Brown's knee? If it's requiring constant rest, what is it? Is it a sprain? Charles, we don't know exactly what's wrong with the knee. What we do know is that A.J. Brown has needed rest for this knee off and on the entire season. If you remember the game where they should have called a horse collar tackle earlier this year, and he walked off the field and he was kind of like gimping around, and then they said he was fine. Ever since that happened, that was what now, 2 months ago at this point, almost 3 months ago? Ever since that play happened on the sideline near the Eagles bench, he has been off and on the injury report. So it's obviously it's not serious that he didn't miss any real time, okay? And I think that for the Eagles, part of the concern is that if you go back and rewatch that play, it looks like he strained the knee on the same leg that he had the hamstring injury. And not to get too particular into the science, but I can speak as someone who has 4 certifications in the health and fitness industry. And I can tell you that the biomechanics of is very specific. That if you have a issue or a strain or an injury to your hamstring or knee or quad, you are likely at some point going to cause some sort of strain or sprain or injury to the other because of the way they're connected. And so it's the idea that, one of the reasons why doctors want people to go to rehab is because if you don't rehab properly, you are going to use too much of one muscle group to compensate for an injury. And what happens is that the overcompensation leads to a new injury. And so I feel pretty comfortable saying that this is more precautionary than anything else. I think the Eagles are saying, look, you had that weird knee issue on the same leg that you had a hamstring injury earlier this year. We are not going to overwork you. We need you more than 100%. So I think it's less about what's wrong with A.J. Brown's knee, but more about the Eagles are progressing with an abundance of caution, right? They were extra cautious with A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert and Jordan Mailata, all of their hamstring injuries this year. They have been extra careful with Britton Covey's neck injury to the point where Covey hasn't played now in 6-8 weeks. So the Eagles are just being extra safe. And I think that's why A.J. Brown was listed as rest, not participating in practice today. He participated yesterday. So it's not like he's not practicing at all. So, Charles, I wouldn't read too much into the knee issue for A.J. Brown. I think it's more precautionary than anything else. All right. I put up this Notre Dame Penn State conversation long enough. Couple things. One, I think what gets overlooked in this game is that you have 2 teams that are very good against the run. Penn State and Notre Dame are 2 of the best teams of all of college football at run defense this year. And you saw what Penn State did against Ashton Genty in the last game versus Boise State. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I think this is going to be a rock fight. I think that this is not going to be a game that has a ton of scoring. Now, the problem is that, is that going to be a low enough scoring game for it to hit the under? I am leaning pretty heavy to the under in this game, if I'm being honest. But I'm also aware that the team totals add up to 46. Whereas the over-under is 44 or 45 and a half, depending on what book you go to, okay? I know right now at Caesar Sportsbook, it's 45. So, historically, I always tell you guys, when there's a math problem, it's a sign to bet one way or the other or stay away. I'm taking the stay away because this game, for me at least, screams under. But the odds makers, for whatever reason, are putting a higher number on the team totals. And when you look at Penn State's last 2 games in the playoff, they were both unders. The Oregon game was over. The Maryland game hit the over. The Minnesota game hit the over. Well, was that because those teams don't play good defense? Right? Whereas Notre Dame, you look at their schedule, the last time Notre Dame hit the over, they were playing a USC team. So I tend to think this is a game that I think there's a reason why the odds makers are putting that number out there. I think they're trying to seduce people to take the under, but I think it's actually going to hit the over just because of the numbers and the odds. But I am not trusting that bet because I think this is a fraudulent number. So if you're someone who's looking to bet the game, what I personally would do is I would find an alternate over-under number and take the under. In terms of who's going to win, I think Notre Dame wins. And that's going to be very upsetting for you Penn Staters out there, but I just think Notre Dame's defense is really good. And I think you are going to find out tonight more about why Kobe Allard is staying in college. I think Kobe Allard has a talented future, but I don't think that future is tonight. I think Notre Dame's defense is that good for a reason. And this is the Notre Dame defense that has shut down pretty much almost everyone they faced outside of USC. And I think USC caught them on a bad day, honestly. All right, Notre Dame, Penn State coming up next year on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. If you're looking for the Flyers game, go to our sister station, Rock 104.1, and the Rock 104.1 mobile app. Have a great night, everybody.
This Sunday, come join us at the Chicken or the Egg in Marlton, New Jersey for our Eagles pregame show. Josh Hennig and former Eagles tight end Ken Dunnick and I will get you ready for the Packers Wildcard game. We'll get the keys to the game with Fox 29 News sports anchor Scott Grayson, brought to you by Blitz's Market. Plus, my fantasy football guru Brian Hartley checks in with his fantasy picks, brought to you by Charlie's Bar. It's our Eagles pregame show live at Chicken or the Egg in Marlton, New Jersey, Sunday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.